for another impromptu live broadcast on the Football Tribe YouTube channel, because, like we did promise you, we would have a special edition of the broadcast for the release of the Premier League fixtures, and I can confirm to you those fixtures have been released, and we're going to be taking a look at them, so that I do let you know what match day one will look like, what because it's going to be a really a tough start for Arsenal, for Manchester United, for Liverpool, the reigning champions. Yeah, so our expectations on that front, we're going to be letting you know why we do think it's going to be a bit difficult. It's going to be a bit difficult. Just testing out our audience, but I think we're good to go. We're good to go. But yeah, it's official. The Premier League fixtures are out, and we're going to be looking at a bit of that. Match day one looks already tough for some teams. Then the opening maybe 6 or 5 fixtures, or even up to 10, depending on how the considerations are. It's sort of going to be a baptism of fire for some of your favorite teams in as far as next season is concerned. So, but the beauty with the Premier League is that fixtures do come out early enough for teams to be well prepared. And the good thing is that we are past that period of COVID-19, when teams sort of started with the season and they weren't sure who is going to be available. Every day they had to go through tests and things of that nature, and we didn't know what those tests would prove. For those of you that do remember the start of the 2022, the start, I think, of the 2021-2022 Premier League season, Arsenal missing a cohort of players due to COVID-19. Arsenal had requested that the match be rescheduled. The Premier League refused. They went on to lose to Brentford by 2-0 under the floodlights on that day. So it's always sort of a bit tricky, but I mean, the opening day is the opening day, and at least we know what things are going to look like in as far as match day one of the Premier League will transpire. Without wasting any further ado, here is a look at match day one of the Premier League, because it will kick off officially on Friday, 15th August, when Liverpool, the reigning champions, entertain AFC Bournemouth at 10 p.m. East African time. And then on Saturday, Aston Villa will be up against Newcastle. Brighton will be at home against Fulham. Nottingham Forest will face off with Brentford, while Sunderland will be at home against West Ham United. Remember, Sunderland is one of those teams that have just been sort of elevated or promoted to the Premier League after beating Sheffield United by 2-1 in the Championship playoff final. And then, of course, in the other fixture, in the other fixtures, Tottenham Hotspurs will be up against Burnley, while Wolverhampton Wanderers will entertain Manchester City at Molineux. Then on Super Sunday, Chelsea will be up against Crystal Palace. That's a London derby, while Manchester United will host Arsenal on match day one of the Premier League. So that's going to be a big fixture for the opening weekend. And then on Monday Night Football, Leeds United will entertain Everton. So that's what we do expect in as far as the opening weekend is concerned. So do let me know in some of your teams, are you okay with what they're likely to face on the opening day of the weekend? Are you okay with that kind of okay, not that you have anything to do about it, not that you can change it, but do let me know what your thoughts are, if indeed you are happy with what the fixture has produced in regards to the opening weekend. Of course, we're going to look at the larger context of things, because we're talking about the summer transfer window that is ongoing, that speaks to the preparation of teams in regards to the following season or the coming season and things of that nature. But at least as far as match day one is concerned, that that is what is to be expected. That Man United do host Arsenal. It's not. I mean, not that it is rare, but it usually doesn't happen too often that you get such very, very big games on the opening days of the Premier League. So, just a second. Just putting out a link on X here to have more people join the conversation for this particular broadcast. So, anyways, when you look at like I said, in the larger scheme of things, we will start with Arsenal. I think when you look at some of the when you look at we're going to be looking at some of the big or the first maybe 6 to 8 fixtures for the different clubs in regards to what they do have to start the season with. And of course, it's going to be a difficult start for Arsenal. It's going to be a difficult start for Manchester United. So, but it is what it is. So starting with Arsenal, like I said, they do open up the weekend with a trip to Manchester United. Then they will return home to play Leeds United. Then they will make the trip away to the champions. That's Liverpool, and they will play Liverpool at Anfield. That will be on match day 3 of the Premier League. Then that will, of course, see out the month of August, and then into September, they will play a team that finished 7th on the Premier League log. That's Nottingham Forest at home, and then they will still remain at home to play Manchester City. So that means they will have 2 subsequent home games before making the trip away to Newcastle. That's for the opening 6 Premier League games for Arsenal. Man United, Leeds, Liverpool, and Nottingham Forest, Manchester City, and Newcastle. That means that Arsenal will play at least 3 of the 5 teams that finished within the top 5. Now, if you remove Arsenal themselves being one of those, it leaves only one team that finished within the top 5, and that's Chelsea. So, but you look at those teams, and Liverpool is in, Man City is in, Newcastle is in, and then of course United are part of the Big 6, regardless of where they finished last season. But also what we've been able to see with Newcastle in recent years, they've sort of positioned themselves to be that team that is challenging the top 6. And last season, if last season is anything to go by, or last season, or the 2022-2023 campaign, when they qualified for the UEFA Champions League before missing out in the 2023-2024 end of season. So, because this is going to be their second appearance in the UEFA Champions League, their second appearance in the last 2 seasons. So that sort of speaks to that, and it speaks to their progress. So they're a big team. Last season, they beat up against Arsenal on 3 different occasions, twice in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup and once in the Premier League before losing to Arsenal in, I think, the second last game of the season when they lost by 1-0. That goal scored by Declan Rice. So Mutunji Julius, hello, I'm from Uganda, Kampala. Hello, Mutunji Julius. Welcome to the Footballtribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is my name, and I'm also coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, and we are discussing the release of the Premier League fixtures and what some of your teams are going to face. Do let me know what team do you support, if you do support any team in the Premier League, but also do give me your opinion or your thoughts in regards to match day 1 or the fixtures overall, the way you've been able to see them. Give us your thoughts on that, as well as we try to look at for the fixtures here for Liverpool, because Liverpool also do not have it easy, and neither do Manchester United. So guys, if you're just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also more importantly, consider subscribing to the channel if you're new, as we dive deeper into some of the opening fixtures for your respective teams in regards to what we do expect. Then we will also perhaps look at what the closing day of the season will look like, or at least the final bend of the season. Then here's a look at Liverpool. Liverpool as the reigning champions. Here's the look of things of how they're going to get to start the new season. We all know that they are really making big moves in the transfer window to try and strengthen, even though we already thought they are really strong, but they are looking to strengthen. And they've already signed Jeremy Frimpong. Florian Wirtz is going to be doing his medical. already. Then next week they will be looking to see that deal for Milos Kakez from AFC Bournemouth. They want to sign a striker. Alexander Isak is a target as much as Hugo Ekitike, but they are looking to prioritize one of those. We do know that they want to let go of Darwin Núñez, but also they will be looking at their options in those wide positions as well as the centre back, because Jarrell Quensha could go to Bayer Leverkusen. They have interest in the 22-year-old. Then Ibrahim Konate has only 1 year left to his contract, and Real Madrid are already circling around over the potential signing of the French international and things of that nature. But in regards to Liverpool, Mutungi Julius does ask the question, why Arteta don't want to sign a striker? We're going to get into that discussion about Arsenal and strikers, but I'll tell you for a fact that it's not about Arteta not wanting to sign a number 9, but I will be letting you know in just a bit. So Liverpool's opening fixtures, or at least about 5 or 8 fixtures, when you look at the overview. They do open the weekend with Bournemouth. Bournemouth was one of those bogey sides last season in as far as facing the big teams. They did beat Arsenal home and away by 2-0 at the Vitality Stadium and by 2-1 at the Emirates Stadium. So it's not an easy opponent, but at least Liverpool open up the weekend. They do open up the season at home at Anfield against AFC Bournemouth. Then their next fixture, they will make the trip to St. James's Park, where they will face Newcastle, while then on match day 3, they'll be back at Anfield to entertain Arsenal. Then on match day 4, they'll face up with Burnley. And then on match day 5, they'll be at home in the Merseyside Derby. And then you look at, after that, they'll make the trip to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park before traveling to Stamford Bridge. So they'll have 2 games subsequently away. That's against Crystal Palace, against Chelsea, and then before they return home to face with Manchester United. So that's for their opening 8 fixtures. The reason as to why I did expand the scope for Liverpool is because of those 2 crucial fixtures that do open the month of October. That's against Chelsea and against Manchester United. But more importantly, when you look at their first opening 6 fixtures, I think it's a bit fair for them. It's a fair fixture because among those, you play Crystal Palace, you play Everton. We know these are all teams that finished within the bottom half of the table. Not that it makes them any easier of opponents, because we do know Everton forced them into a 2-2 draw during that trip to Goodison Park in their final Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. And then, but you do have Burnley in there. It's a newly promoted side. You do have, of course, Newcastle, and you do have Bournemouth. So that means in the opening 6 fixtures for Liverpool, they will only have to play 2 of the teams that finished within the top 5, and that's Arsenal, that's Newcastle. Remember, Arsenal have all 3 of those in Liverpool, in Newcastle, and in Liverpool, in Newcastle, and Man City. So for me, I do get the feeling that the fixture is here in itself, it's looking a little bit fair for Liverpool. So it's looking really a little bit fair, and you do fancy that Liverpool will make good of it. If I were to just rewind back a bit to it, and I were to guess, I think if there is any fixtures that I do think they will go on to win, you look at the opening day, beat up against Bournemouth, Burnley, beat up against Crystal Palace, and then beat up against Everton, because that's a home game. So those are 4 wins out of 6 that Liverpool should be seeking. Not that they can't seek to get out 6 out of 6, but at least when you compare the Newcastle and Arsenal fixtures, one being away, the other fixture being at home, given the recent context between the fixture between Liverpool and Arsenal, it's not easy fixture. It usually ends in a draw at Anfield, and pretty much even last season it ended in a 2-2 draw at Anfield. So that's why I'm thinking that Liverpool can easily win 4 out of the opening 6 fixtures of the Premier League. Then I'm trying to find my data for Manchester United, because Man United equally do not have it easy for them in as far as the opening weekend is concerned, sorry, as far as the opening 6 games are concerned for Manchester United, we do need to find that as well and see who they do have. But like I said, they do have Arsenal in that run in. Then, okay, yeah, here's what they have for the opening 5 fixtures of the season. Manchester United, they do play Arsenal at home. Then they make the trip away to Craven Cottage. They will play Fulham before returning home to play Burnley. Hi, Odin. How are you doing, my brother? Thanks for rejoining us. And then they will play the Manchester Derby. That's against Man City. It will be away to the Etihad Stadium. Ryan Checky did say that he really, really felt bad when Lyon lost to Manchester United in the manner in which they lost to them in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Europa League last season. You remember it was a 2-2 draw in France, and then Man United won it up in stoppage time, 5-4. Sorry, in extra time, 5-4. So he said he's really, really looking forward to the Manchester Derby, and it couldn't come any sooner for him because that game will be played on the 13th of September. Now, in regards to the dates of these particular fixtures, please be informed that there will be some changes to them. Some of these dates are, I can go ahead and say that many of these dates are tentative. Reason being, now that the fixtures are out, broadcasters will sort of come in to pick and choose which games they want to prioritize, which games they want to, air, and that usually has an impact on the kickoff of those games. And sometimes we get slight changes in dates themselves. So I'll give you an example. So, for example, you look at let's say on Saturday, all those games that are going to be played on match day 1. Just to revisit that a bit, because especially games that are kicking off at about 5 p.m. East African time. Brighton versus Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Sunderland, West Ham, Spurs, Burnley. So broadcasters could say, we really want to feature that game of Tottenham Hotspurs, and we also want to show, let's say, Brighton, Fulham, or Aston Villa, maybe Brighton, Fulham, and then you get that Tottenham game being pushed from 5 p.m. to maybe to be played at 10 p.m. on a Saturday. So that usually also factors in, or even be pushed to a Sunday. So your respective teams will be communicating some of these changes depending on who you pay allegiance to, who you do follow the most. They will be making those changes as of when the broadcast schedule comes out. So do expect those changes. So after playing Manchester City away from home, Man United will then play Chelsea. That means they are going to play 3 of the big 6 in the opening 5 fixtures of the season for Manchester United. That's equally as tough as it comes for a team like Man United, given how things went for them last season. We all know things didn't really, really go well. They could only record 11 wins. They recorded 11 wins. They recorded 18 losses, and I think about 4 draws. Wait, was it 4 draws? Let's do the math. No, sorry, about 9 draws. Yes, about 9 draws. So in comparison, if they go to start these fixtures, the beauty of it is about that 2 of these, Arsenal and Chelsea, are going to be at home at Old Trafford, as well as then the game for Burnley. Then they only have 2 games away from home in the opening 5. So then that gives them a chance. Really, it gives them a fighting chance. But we all know we are talking about a Manchester United team that last season failed to win at least 2 Premier League games in a row. So of course they will be looking to change their fortunes. We do expect that we are really looking forward to pre-season and see how best they prepare themselves for the subsequent season. But in as far as the opening 5 fixtures are concerned, they will face Arsenal, Fulham, Burnley, Manchester City, and Chelsea for the opening of 5 fixtures. So Man United fans, do let me know what your opinions are on those opening fixtures. But while we speak Manchester United, remember they've already signed Matheus Cunha. They are interested in signing Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. They want to sign a striker, and they are considering Victor Osimhen, Ugo Ekitike, as well as what's his name? Victor Osimhen So those are the three names that they are really, really looking forward to land at least one of them, having missed out on Liam Delap, who has since joined Chelsea from Ipswich Town for a mere £30 million. So whether it will be Victor Osimhen or Victor Gyökeres or Hugo Ekitike, we'll wait to see. But those are some of the strikers that they are really, really looking at. But for me, the questions that I do have are over Hugo Ekitike. What's the difference between him and the strikers that Man United already have in Joshua Zirkzee, in Rasmus Højlund? If he's turning 23 on June the 20th, you do have Joshua Zirkzee that only turned 24 the other day. You do have Rasmus Højlund that will soon or later be turning 23. So same age profile, all strikers have still yet delivered. So what makes you think that Hugo Ekitike is going to come from Germany at Eintracht Frankfurt and then suddenly come good where Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee have failed? So for me, the case I would make for Man United would be between Victor Osimhen and Victor Gyökeres. Why Victor Gyökeres? He's already accustomed to playing in a Ruben Amorim system. He does know how to fit in that system. So, and the manager equally knows how to play with his team to the strength of the striker that he has. So that's why I do think that Victor Gyökeres will be a better fit for Manchester United. However, Victor Osimhen cannot be counted off because he equally does have the experience. Last season, I think he posted a goal contribution of 31 in 29 games, scoring 26 goals and providing 5 assists. That's in the Turkish league. We saw him be top scorer in 2023 when Napoli were winning the Scudetto under Luciano Spalletti. He scored, I think, about 26 goals in that season to help them win the Scudetto. So he does have the experience and is one of those strikers that are really, really sought after. Although there's a sticking point about his wage demands, he did turn down a move to the Saudi Pro League with Al Hilal offering in the excess of 40 million euros in sort of annual or seasonal wages, but he turned that down. Galatasaray do want to retain him on a permanent deal. They are willing to break the bank and offer him up to 15 million euros in net pay. So I do not think Manchester United can match that. Not that they lack the capability, but that's not the direction they really, really want to take in as far as they are setting their wage bill. In any case, they are really looking to reduce that a bit, so and bring it further down. And that's why they are looking to let go of players like Marcus Rashford. And then, of course, Jordan Sancho is one of those facing an exit. But equally, his exit, it won't be as simple as it would have been had he not been on the high wages that he's currently on, believed to be in the region of 300 grand a week at Manchester United. Marcus Rashford apparently is about 300 to 350k a week. So it's not going to be a bit easy for Man United to move on some of these players. But then Alejandro Garnacho is expected to leave. They're willing to listen to offers for Luke Shaw. Then Rasmus Højlund, Inter Milan, Napoli are equally interested in his services. But Napoli, I think, are prioritizing the signing of Darwin Núñez from Liverpool, who has also attracted interest from the Saudi Pro League. And then the other name that Napoli have discussed is Jonathan David, the free agent coming out of Lille. That's the 25-year-old Canadian striker. So that's it at that in regards to Man United and their pursuits and what the sort of implications around it. Although for me personally, for Manchester United, I do think that if they are going to strengthen, if they are going to change their fortunes, among all the priority signings that they are trying to make, they need to consider signing that number 8 sort of player, a player that helps them with ball control in that midfield, with dictating play, with composure, with reading the game, somebody that reads the game really well, somebody that anticipates the game, that's somebody that knows how to command that ball, knows when to cool the tempo, knows when to hype up the tempo, and things of that nature. They've tried to play Bruno Fernandes in that role, but it has often always not worked out. Every time he's been played in that role, he does thrive better as a number 10. Going back to Motunji Julius's question, he did ask he did ask the question why Arteta doesn't want to sign a striker. Now, I won't say he doesn't want to sign a striker, but also the mere fact that he's only signed one striker ever since he joined Arsenal, and that was Gabriel Jesus, also sort of does tend to support submissions like Julius's submission. why Arteta doesn't want to sign a striker. Now, to disqualify your argument that he doesn't want to sign a striker, here is the backdrop of it. Now, the challenge that I do have with Mikel Arteta is that he's sort of a stickler to what he wants. So, for example, if he wants to sign, let's say, Alexander Isak, if he does not get him this summer, he's the kind of manager that would rather wait until next summer if it means that he then sort of gives himself a better chance that he will get that striker next summer. So it's not to say he's not wanted to sign a striker. Last summer, they did want to sign Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig. They failed with those attempts because the player eventually chose to stay at RB Leipzig and continue his development there and went on to sign a new contract. And they went back in January again for Benjamin Sesko, and then RB Leipzig were not willing to listen to offers for his signature because then they were really, really fighting in the league. They wanted to finish within European places, something that they failed at for the first time since 2016, 2017, and things of that sort. So they tried but failed. Then in January still, they were offered an opportunity to sign Ollie Watkins. Please forgive the background noise from the imam that is sort of, announcing Muslim prayers. So apologies on that if you're getting that feedback in your ears. So like I was saying, in January, they were offered the chance to sign Ollie Watkins, and he really, really wanted the player. He thought he would be a good fit for Arsenal. However, the two clubs could not come to terms over the valuation of the player. Arsenal valued the player at £40 million, considering that he's at 29 years of age and in December he's going to be turning 30. So while Aston Villa valued him at £60 million. So that disparity in valuation of the player is what caused Arsenal not to sign a striker. So much to the anguish of Mikel Arteta, because during the course of that transfer window, the January transfer window, he did repetitively send out messages to his bosses that they really, really needed to sign a striker. So maybe one would argue that they could have done better. And in fact, I was reading some reports from some insiders somewhere that apparently one of the reasons as to why Edu Gaspar Dawood chose to part ways with Arsenal was a bit of frustration that emanated from last summer for Arsenal's failure to invest in a very good forward. We ended up with Raheem Sterling on loan. That one, we all know how it played out. It worked out horribly wrong. It looked like a horrendous mistake because he really, really didn't contribute much to Arsenal. They would have been even better off perhaps without him. So anyways, that notwithstanding, I think after that, there was a bit of frustration between Edu and the Arsenal hierarchy and perhaps the manager, but also more importantly, another reason as to what they give in connection to his departure was that he had hoped that he would rise through the ranks and then end up as Arsenal CEO, especially in the wake of the fact that Vinay Vektishim had chosen to step down from his role as CEO at Arsenal, but also he did not get that role, so that's why he eventually chose to move away. But also his agent, whose name I forget at the moment, is really, really friends with Evangelos Marinaxis, the businessman who does own Olympiacos in Greece and Nottingham Forest in the UK. So he's since gone on to under Evangelos Marinaxis to be I think the head of football for his clubs and things of that nature. But indeed, that is the situation regarding Mikel Arteta and the signing of strikers. So I do want to disqualify your statement. It's not that he doesn't want to. If he identifies a player, then I'll also give you an example. For example, they did identify quickly on that they do want to sign Alexander Isak as their priority signing for a striker. But when Andrea Beta walked into that door, I think he made his calls or reached out to his people and he realized that making a deal for Alexander Isak would prove too difficult to do, because Newcastle do not want to strengthen their opponents because they look at Arsenal as opponents. They wouldn't. That's why even when Liverpool are interested in Alexander Isak, I'm still inclined to believe that it will be close to miraculous if Liverpool were able to scoop Alexander Isak from Newcastle. So once he did that assessment and realized okay, that deal may be either too difficult to do or even almost impossible. Or if we were to do it, it would mean that we break the bank and sign Alexander Isak, and then we are left with little to nothing in terms of strengthening in other, parts of the squad. So that's when he said, apparently, we need to move on to other options as soon as possible. And then, of course, Plan B was Benjamin Sesko, who, according to Blind in German today, apparently Arsenal have agreed personal terms with Benjamin Sesko. However, they are unwilling to pay any fee between 80 to 100 million euros to sign the 22-year-old Slovenian striker. That's because Andre Bata came in. That's when they go to add on Victor Gyökeres to that shortlist as a potential target. And indeed, back in May, Arsenal did make inquiries around the situation that it would require them to sign a player like Victor Gyökeres. So we are equally waiting to see what decision is made. Now, of course, some reports have come out to say that Arsenal are still undecided in regards to who they really want to sign between Victor Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko. Personally, I would be inclined to disagree to that effect. I do think they know who they want to sign in terms of priority, but also they are simply playing it safe by saying, if we do not get our primary targets, we should be in pole position to sign this one as the second best alternative, as the opportunity cost choice that is, the best second alternative when choice is made. So remember, like I said, the priority would have been Alexander Isak, but that in itself is too difficult a deal or too expensive. So that moves them to the plan B, who is Benjamin Sesko. And the reason for Benjamin Sesko also is a bit of a broader debate. You look at his age profile, yes, he's not as developed as Victor Gyökeres, but when they look at his qualities and his overall play, they think he better suits the Arsenal system of play as opposed to Victor Gyökeres. And then there's that expectation so that if they were to sign Victor Gyökeres, they may have to adjust in the manner in which they play compared to the way Man City had to adjust a couple of things in the way they played when they signed Bart Erling Haaland, so that to be able to get the best out of the striker that they may sign. So that is there to bear in mind as well, in as far as the context of signing strikers at Arsenal is concerned. I do understand the frustration among Arsenal fans in terms of delay to getting deals over the line. I think if I'm being fair to myself, I think I would say I do share some, not whole, but some of that frustration from Arsenal's delay in getting transfer business done. Because when you look at your opponents like Liverpool, who already won the league last season, and they are already strengthening, they're attacking the market with a lot of vigor, with a lot of intent, regardless of what the cost is. When you look at Man City, of course, we all know they fell off the wagon, but when you look at that Premier League table, they finished what? About 3 or 4 points shy behind Arsenal. So, and yet they've already signed about 5 players in this transfer window. In January, they spent about 200 million euros on Kushanov, the Uzbekistan centre back. They signed Omar Mamouche, the 26-year-old or 27-year-old Egyptian. Then that was from Frankfurt. They went and signed Nico Gonzalez from FC Porto, and they also signed Vita Reis from Paramides, the 19-year-old centre back. So, and in addition to those 4, they've signed Ryan Cheki, they've signed Ryan Achnori, they've signed Tijan Reenders, and Mittens, that goalkeeper from Chelsea, as a third choice goalkeeper. Then they went and signed Sevre Naipan. That's the youngster from the Norwegian league, but they are already strengthening. Look at Manchester United, recognizing that they did underperform last season, regardless of their financial situation. That has been widely reported that they may not have as much cash in their reserves as they would love to. They've already signed Matthias Cunha for £62.5 million. We're talking Matthias Cunha, a player who Arsenal wanted to sign in January, but he ended up committing his future to Wolverhampton Wanderers when he renewed his contract. And then they inserted that £62.5 million release clause and had a gentleman's agreement between him and the club that if a suitable offer came for him in the summer, or what would be acceptable for him, he would leave the club, and he has already left for Man United. So you look at Chelsea. Chelsea already have hundreds of players on their playing roster, and yet, of course, Dario Esogo has already joined the club. They signed that one in January from Las Palmas. He's a holding midfielder. They also signed Giovan Quenda from Sporting Lisbon. That one stayed there on loan and will continue to stay on loan at Sporting Lisbon until the end of the 2025-2026 season. Then you look at they've signed Liam Delap. That one is a done deal. They were going for Jamie Kittens. Yes, they fell short of Borussia Dortmund's demands, but will continue that quest of trying to sign him in the aftermath of the FIFA Club World Cup. So that in itself is really, really happening. And that shows a sign of intent amongst Chelsea and what direction they want to take. They have made serious or significant inquiries regarding Hugo Ekitike. They want to get in another striker, even after signing Liam Delap, when they also have Nicholas Jackson. So that in itself is a show of intent from these clubs. And yet, when Arsenal fans look around their main opponents, they do not see their club making headway in as far as the transfer market is concerned. Of course, they are waiting to receive Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. They are waiting to sign him for him to join the club. According to David Austin, he will be part of Arsenal's preseason. And then here we are not sure whether Thomas Partey is going to stay. What we know as of this morning that we did discuss is that contract talks between Thomas Partey and Arsenal are on the verge of collapse because Arsenal are unwilling to give they are unwilling to give Thomas Partey an improvement in his wages. They want to give him a new contract under the same terms that he's been on, while the player would prefer an increase in his wages if he is to stay at the club. So it looks like he could leave the club. And of course, there are different considerations for that. For those of you that want a detailed discussion about Thomas Partey and what I do think in regards to that, please do go back and check our live broadcast from last night or from this morning, or go under the channel and check out our shorts section, and you'll see what the justification or the explanation is in the broader context in regards to the situation for Thomas Partey. But they did give his agent the offer. They put it on table, but it's been weeks without response from Thomas Partey's camp. And according to reports from Ghana, if Arsenal do not give him a wage increment, then 100% he will be leaving the club. So that bit of situation, and among other things, is what is getting Arsenal fans really, really frustrated in as far as this summer is concerned. But I say do not lose hope, because Arsenal are considering signing Rodrigo Goes. They're considering Anthony Gordon from Newcastle. They're considering a player like Jacob Ramsey. No, Morgan Gibbs-White. Sorry, not Morgan Gibbs-White. Jacob Ramsey. Yes, Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa is one of the other players that they are considering to sign from Aston Villa. Oh, sorry, not Jacob Ramsey. Morgan Rogers. Yes, they are considering signing Morgan Rogers, not Jacob Ramsey. Yes, Morgan Rogers had an 18-goal contribution last season, scored 8 goals, I think, and provided 10 assists in 37 appearances there for the 22-year-old, England international. So, but overall, when you assess the situation, personally, I do understand where the frustration is emanating from in as far as Arsenal fans are concerned. Then the other team I wanted us to look at in terms of their opening fixtures is Manchester City. Let me see if I can find that fixture list. But guys, do let me know. Cristiano Sam, hello my brother, how are you doing? Cristiano Sam, good to have you back on the broadcast. This is an impromptu broadcast, but in the wake of the release of the Premier League fixtures for the 2025-2026 season. Going forward, we may consider doing a lunchtime broadcast, but it will depend on you guys. If you really like, being part of it, then we can always find the time to do a lunchtime broadcast for you guys, and we keep you updated with all the information from the world of football. Who is Liverpool playing in the first match, bro? They are playing up against AFC Bournemouth. They will open the Premier League season on Friday night, that is the 15th of August, with a game against Bournemouth. It will be at Anfield, so it's a good game really for Liverpool to start the season with. I do think. And out of the opening, I think 6 fixtures that include Liverpool, that include Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Arsenal. I think as well as Burnley. I think they have an opportunity to win at least 4 of the 6 fixtures. But maybe Newcastle and Arsenal. They also do have a Merseyside derby in between there because they will have to host Everton at home in one of their opening 6 fixtures. In regards to Manchester City, this is how they will open their campaign, or what the look of things will be for the opening 6 fixtures for Manchester City. They do open the season with a trip away to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Not always an easy trip, by the way, for Manchester City. One of those places or venues in the Premier League at Molenix, where they have been known to lose a couple of times. Then after that, they will be at home against Tottenham Hotspurs. Tottenham Hotspurs, by the way, last season did beat up against Manchester City by 4-0 in one of those fixtures. So it's a team that loves to beat up against Pep Guardiola, really, Tottenham Hotspurs, regardless of what shape they may be in. So that's another interesting fixture. Then after that, they'll be away to Brighton and Hove Albion, and then they'll play Manchester United at home in the Manchester Derby. Then after the Manchester Derby, they'll play away to Arsenal, and then they'll play Burnley. So those are the opening 6 fixtures. Excuse me. For the side of Man City, and you look at them, and it's equally a bit of a tough one, because you do play Arsenal, you do play Man United, you do play Tottenham. Those are teams that do not come easy to you. And then, of course, maybe Burnley, maybe Wolves, and and Brighton will be the kind of fixtures that Man City look at and say, we must win those ones by hook or crook, if it means winning half of the opening 6 fixtures, because against Arsenal, against Man United, and Tottenham, it could be slightly tougher. But at least that's what is happening for Manchester City. What's the other team that we ought to look at? Chelsea. We ought to look at how things look like for Chelsea as far as the opening few fixtures will be for Chelsea. Remember, Chelsea and Man City are playing at the FIFA Club World Cup, and they're playing at the FIFA Club World Cup, and that is going to be really, really important. For me, I'll be eager in seeing how these teams that have been playing at the FIFA Club World Cup will fare, especially in the first month of the season. Will that FIFA Club World Cup will have it help them as to be part of their preseason, or will it cost them in terms of fitness, in terms of being Premier League ready? We'll wait to see. In regards to Chelsea, they do open their weekend or their season with the home game against Crystal Palace. That's a London derby. Then they will play. Now, Chelsea are going to play 4 London derbies in their opening 6 fixtures. However, I do think fairly they have it an easier fixture list, because they do open the season with a home game against Crystal Palace. Then after that, they will play West Ham United away from home, and then we'll play Fulham at home. Apologies, I misread that. They'll be playing 3 London derbies against Crystal Palace on match day 1. Match day 2 will be West Ham United, and match day 3 will be Fulham. Then after that, they will play Brentford, another London team. So that's 4, and then they will play Manchester United and Brighton and Hove Albion. That's for the opening 6 fixtures or for Chelsea of the season. Again, then in October they have a fixture against Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, and Sunderland. Then in November they have Tottenham, they have Arsenal, they have Wolves and Burnley. Really, I think it's really, really a fair fixture for Chelsea, because if in the opening 6 fixtures of the season you're not playing any team that finished within the top 5, actually not even in the top 7, I think that's a good fixture, because you have Crystal Palace, West Ham, Fulham. Both Crystal Palace and West Ham finished in the top bottom half of the table, or on the page 2, that's 11th place and below. Then Fulham finished, I think, in the first page. Then you have Brentford. Then you have Man United. Then you have Brighton and Hove Albion. So really, that's in regards to how Chelsea do fare. Chelsea are also in the market to strengthen. They are considering signing Mike Maignan, the French national team #1 goalkeeper from AC Milan, 29 years of age, only has one year left with his current contract with AC Milan. Was part of AC Milan is a title-winning, a team that were under the charges of Stefano Pioli. That was in the 2022 season, 2021-2022. There, so very interesting. Then they want to sign Jamie Gittens. They do want to sign more strikers. They want to sign Emmanuel Emega from Strasbourg. Although Strasbourg insists that he should, even if they were to sign him or to sell him, he should be staying on loan for one season. Arguably, they wouldn't want to sell because they did qualify for the UEFA Conference League. That's Strasbourg, but Strasbourg have a very good relationship with Chelsea as a sister club because Chelsea had two of their players in Andre Santos and the goalkeeper Petrovic spend the whole of last season on loan at Strasbourg. And then, of course, they did sign a defender, a 19-year-old French defender. He's called Mamadou Sa. I think Mamadou Sa, yes, 19 years of age from Strasbourg. Then they also want to sign Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt, but let's wait and see if any of those deals will go through. Then they've made inquiries over 20-year-old Belgian winger. He's called Malik Fofana at Olympique Lyon. So he's one of those that they are interested in signing as well. They also want to sign a centre back, and they are looking at Gerard Braithwaite from Everton, as well as what's his name, Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace. That's the other player that they are really looking to bring in. Then maybe let's look at Newcastle as the other team that also finished within the top 5 of the Premier League, and see what do they have on their roster. What is their fixture list looking like in terms of opening 5 or 6 games of the season. Let me hope I'm able to read this, but the bit tiny from Newcastle. Okay, we're able to read them. Now, Newcastle will open their season with a trip to Aston Villa. Remember last time when they went to Aston Villa, they were beaten badly by 4-1, I think, in that fixture at Villa Park. But that is their opening game of the season. Then after that, they will be at home against Liverpool before making the trip to Leeds. That's in the month of August. And then in September, they will be up against Wolverhampton Wanderers. They play AFC Bournemouth, and then they will play Arsenal at St. James's Park. So they do have some really difficult fixtures. When you look at Aston Villa, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Liverpool, we're talking about 3 teams that managed to beat them last season. In Liverpool, Arsenal beat them at the Emirates Stadium by 1-0, but they also did beat Arsenal at least on 3 different occasions, like we did highlight before. That's 1-0 in the league and 2-0 home and away in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. And then, of course, Leeds are new returnees in the Premier League. Then Wolves and Bournemouth, those could come as easier fixtures. So if you're Newcastle, you're looking to win the bare minimum of at least 3 out of the opening 6 fixtures of the league. And then when you look at their fixtures going forward, they also look okay for me, because then you play Nottingham Forest, Brighton and Hove Albion, then you play Fulham, then West Ham, Brentford, Man City, Everton. So you look at it as a bit of a fair schedule in regards to Newcastle. There, any Newcastle fans out there? Do I know any Newcastle fans out there? Not really, if I'm being honest. Not really. The one I used to know, he shifted allegiances at Arsenal because he used to support Newcastle because he's called Alan, and he used to love Alan Shearer, so that's why he was supporting Newcastle. And I think he stopped supporting Newcastle after 2009 when they got relegated. Still under Alan Shearer, they got relegated. I think after the 2009-2010 season or 2009-2008 season. I think it was after 2009, because then 2009-2010, because then after that, Michael Owen left them and joined Man United. So around that period, anyway, I do stand to be corrected, but it was around that period. For those of you that do remember your history better than I at the moment. But at least in essentially that's the look of things. Maybe for purposes of broadening the context, to maybe make it okay. Anyway, no, we won't consider that. Maybe to broaden things a little bit further on that Arsenal topic is beyond the opening 6 fixtures, where they do have a Man United, Leeds, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Man City, and Newcastle. If you expand them to 10, they do have West Ham, they do have Fulham, they do have Crystal Palace, and I think what's the other team? And I think Burnley. Yes. So you look in there, and they have what? After the 6 games, they have 3 consecutive London derbies against West Ham, against Fulham, against Crystal Palace. Fulham is one of those teams that have troubled Arsenal in recent times. But we'll wait and see. And even Crystal Palace, we did see Crystal Palace force Arsenal into a 2-all draw last season at the Emirates Stadium. So guys, there you have it. That's the overview of the Premier League fixtures that have been released. Those are the opening 6 fixtures, and even bigger for your biggest teams in Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Newcastle, Man City. We've looked at it all. Thank you for being part of this afternoon's broadcast. Much appreciated for the love and support. Thank you Motonji Julius for your contribution. Thank you Odin. Thank you Cristiano Sam and all the others that did follow the conversation behind the scenes slowly by slowly. Your love and support is really, really much appreciated. Allow me to wrap it here and wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Let's meet again later in the course of the day. That's in the evening, but do not forget the FIFA Club World Cup does continue. Man City are in action against Wydad Casablanca at 7 p.m. East African time, while later at 10 p.m. Real Madrid are going to be up against Al Hilal. So we'll be looking forward to enjoying those games. But yesterday, Inter Milan and Monterrey shared the spoils in a 1-all draw, while Mamelodi Sundowns did beat up against Yuslan Hyundai from South Korea by a 1-0. While Borussia Dortmund did share the spoils in a goalless draw against Fluminense. So there you have it. Keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel. Go under the shorts section and check out our latest content. We'll put out so many shots about 4 or 5. Do go watch that content, like, comment, and share. And also check out under the video section. There's a lot of content for you guys to watch. Do go check it out. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and bye-bye for now.